Hey, so before we get into tonight's episode, I just want to take a moment to thank tonight's sponsor, and that is DB Journey again. DB Journey is a Scandinavian brand that makes backpacks and bags to help people on the move stay ready for anything. From the streets to the peaks, DB's gear is travel tested by some of the world's best athletes, adventurers, and creators. Over the past decade, DB Journey has designed and developed, released, and refined the best bags in the market. With DB's patented hookup system, you're able to attach smaller products to your backpack, roller, or tote bag. We here at America's Hometown Horror are teaming up with DB Journey to exclusively offer our listeners 10% off your next purchase by using the code POD10 or going to the link in our show notes. DB Journey, it's time to move on and time to get going. Hail Raatma. And away we
I was wondering where
go.
you're going with that.
What is up, folks? What is going on? What is happening? All right. It is time for another episode of America's Hometown Horror. My name is Mike. I am your host, and we are happy to have you back here tonight talking another 2021 horror movie release. And I think we have some good things to say about tonight's topic. But before we get into all that and all of our other shenanigans, as they say, I want to take a moment first to introduce my esteemed co-host.
You said it! I'm so excited.
You've heard that. One. Here she is. Hello, Catherine.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm esteemed. How are you?
Good. I'm very, very esteemed. Very esteemed. And also next to Catherine, we have Andrew. Hello.
Mike, you're very proud of yourself about this one, huh?
I
feel like this is one of your movies that you're like, and you were so happy when it was great.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I'm happy it was great too, but...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there are certain episodes of this podcast where one of them is specifically, like, it's an episode where it's a cat episode.
Yeah.
Or an Andrew episode, or a Mike episode.
This is a Mike episode.
It's nice
This is a Mike episode.
It's the two thumbs way up, right?
Sure.
Already?
Oh,
and,
absolutely. For Mike,
I have to say, the
okay.
returns on this investment, I've been pounding my chest for VHS 94 since the news broke earlier this summer that it was going to be coming out as a Shudder exclusive. So I have to say, good job by me. Have to say.
Good job,
You killed it. You nailed it.
But hey, before we get into all that, as I mentioned before, let's bullshit a little bit. What do we got going on? We have one newsworthy piece of thing to watch, not to watch, to talk about. And, of course, the thing that I'm referring to here is the much talked about, much discussed trailer for the new Scream movie, which I feel like we've been talking about like almost since the inception of this podcast. Not the Christopher Nolan movie of this podcast, but the start of this podcast. This movie has been rumored for a couple of years, and it finally has been filmed. And it finally has a trailer out, and it's the long-awaited Scream 5, or just called Scream.
Which is very confusing.
Yeah, okay. I know. I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the title, although it is in line with a lot of these quote-unquote legacy sequels,
right?
Like Halloween, that came out in 2018,
right?
Or the new Exorcist movie that's coming out in a couple of weeks, or no, not a couple of weeks, probably next year, and apparently that's just going to be called The Exorcist again. So I'm not a huge fan of the same title. Yeah, if it's going to be in the same continuity, I'm not a fan of that. But the trailer looks dope, and I feel like it would only be appropriate if I give you the floor, Catherine, after just watching this, your thoughts.
I'm so excited that there's going to be Sidney Prescott by Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox playing Gil Weathers, and Deputy Dewey with David Arquette, because they're like
love Dewey.
The three favorite characters of Scream, and I'm just excited just to see them. I mean, but all in all, watching that, you kind of have that, I kind of had that, edge on my seat, excitement, oh, yes, this is coming back. It's going to be, it's going to be a different story because there's a different protagonist. Mm-hmm. Obviously, but then Neve Campbell's I want to help you. I've been through this, so it's it looks awesome.
I knew you'd react like this. So I'm glad.
So excited.
I'm actually kind of glad that I sent it to you 3 days ago and you didn't watch it,
so
that I could get your initial reaction. That's actually perfect.
Immediately.
So before I ask you some questions that I have, Andrew, what were your thoughts watching that? Do you think you're into this? What do you think?
Tough to say. My thoughts were, I could go the rest of my life, never have seen that trailer or any of the other movies called Scream or whatever.
Or whatever, Scream 1, 2, 3, like.
Doesn't.
Are you talking about the Scream franchise or slasher movies in general?
Scream franchise in general.
Okay.
Slashers, I can get down with some slashers. Scream, I could care less. It bores me to death. I'm bored just seeing that.
Wow.
trailer.
Okay, so two polar opposite reactions.
Great.
So,
Thanks,
Kat,
Andrew.
I would ask you this. This has been one of the
Not
biggest...
to be different
No,
either.
that's
I just
fine.
don't
No,
like Scream.
You're
That's fine.
entitled to your opinion. It's fine. I'm entitled to my Phantasm opinion. You're entitled to your Scream opinion. It's all right. It's all good.
what makes us different that
Right.
makes us great.
That's
And I
why
feel
when
like-
we finally
yeah.
find a movie that we all like, I'm like, yeah!
Wow!
An example of that, by the way,
Tonight!
when we were doing Gateway Horror with Tony from Spooky World the Movie, we all knew the categories that we were going to talk about. It felt like right away.
Yeah, that was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we have diverse interests in horror. But what else? So one of the biggest things, and I'm sure upon multiple more viewings, you'll pick up on the fact that they definitely were trying to recreate some of the original shots
Absolutely,
from Scream
yes.
in it, right? But obviously, for a modern audience.
Right.
Lots of technology here. Texting, like the manual unlocking of the doors and everything. Like, what do you think about that in the Scream franchise? Fan, not a fan? That's been one of the biggest criticisms online about, this trailer.
I mean, I think if they're adjusting to modern times, like to present day, you kind of have to acknowledge that. It's the same with like The Purge.
100%.
You know,
I think
like
you're right, yeah.
that they have automatic locks and windows on their. I mean, it's the
Do
same.
you have automatic locks?
No.
No, I don't either.
No,
So-
but some people do.
Yeah, people that...
Andrew, I guarantee you, like,
in the
big money communities, yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
the
I feel
worst
like
type
people-
of people have that.
people
So they should
have-
be murdered. I don't really care.
people have not necessarily automatic doors, but they have smart doors and smart locks and stuff. That's a thing now. I mean, a lot of people have them.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're too
So-
stupid to lock your door, then you're not smart enough to own one of those.
I suppose
my
that's
thought.
true.
I think that honestly, like it's adapting to present day times, and I don't find a problem with that necessarily.
I'm a fan of it too, because you can't, unless they were going to set it like directly after Scream 4, which pretty much took place in modern present day
Right.
at that time,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like, how would you not explain? How would you explain not having technology in
Right.
there in some
See,
way, shape,
can we
or
do this
form,
at one
you know?
point?
Like,
Can one of these franchises do something a little bit different? Like, so imagine they took the Scream franchise and they instead of setting it in 2021, they set it in like 1930. That'd be kind of cool. Like something instead of going forward,
That's a
go
good idea,
back
yeah.
and then do something different.
That's what they just did for. What did we just watch that had that?
Well,
The,
that was kind of
They
that.
had like the 94 and then the.
Yeah.
Fear Street.
Fear
Street.
Street.
different,
Yeah,
different idea.
different.
Not
But
what
kind
I'm
of-
talking about, but
No,
yes, same
but I mean,
concept.
So
yes.
if they had one today, and then the next Scream that comes out, that's the next version was like.
But
in
I'm
the
saying like a
60s,
Nightmare
and
on
then another
Elm
one-
Street.
Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Ship.
Nightmare on Elm Street, and it actually takes place on like the Santa Maria.
Yeah, I mean it could.
Cool, yeah.
That could happen.
It's like Christopher Columbus getting his due.
Sure. That's like the Terror.
The Terror was awesome. That's
It's
an
kinda like-
underrated
yeah.
show. Yeah. Can I tell you though? I thought one of the coolest parts about this trailer was seeing like the old grizzled, like almost kind of like Rustin Cole version of
Deputy
Dewey. He's got like the gray beard and the gray hair, and it shows him like he's clearly living in like a trailer, and like his place is a dump. You can tell he clearly never ever got over the Scream case.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, it's happening again. This one feels different. And then it shows the badass shot of him like walking through like the hospital hallway with a gun, and then all of a sudden it shows him like all the bullet shells like fall onto the ground. It's like, yeah, he just emptied that Colt Magnum, and he's reloading right now to try and kill this guy.
Yeah.
I love me some David Arquette. Give
He's great.
me Deputy Dewey all fucking day.
Yeah.
I love it.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's
I'm
the part
psyched.
I'm the most excited for. But it was cool to see like Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, like all reprising their roles.
Yeah.
I feel like Courtney Cox doesn't have much to do these days outside of like Friends reunions and that type of thing.
And Botox in her
Nev
face.
Courtney Cox looking a little rough. A little rough.
A little too much Botox.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
But
What?
anyway, so the Scream trailer
true.
is online. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. It's pretty cool. It'll get you pumped up for the new Scream movie, which is coming January 2022.
Or don't.
Or don't, if you're Andrew.
I'm
Andrew,
interested. So.
last week I talked about a movie called No One Gets Out Alive
you
on
did.
Netflix.
Yes,
I
you
recommended
did.
it, and you watched it.
I did.
Your thoughts?
Excellent movie, Michael. 2 for 2. 2 for 2 this week, Mike. The movie was awesome. Very
Almost
weird.
as if I have nice taste in movies.
I'm not surprised in the least because starting off, it didn't really seem like a Mike movie. It seemed like an Andrew movie, and you lied to me. A lot of subtitles in this movie.
You lied to me.
It's like 50% subtitles. Half the
I
conversations
didn't
are
really
in
notice it
Portuguese.
that much. Portuguese and Spanish. I mean,
Or-
I guess I get maybe
or
it was
Russian.
or yeah, maybe more than I thought initially.
So it's like,
but you keep the subtitles on anyway. Who cares?
I do, but you know what fucks me up sometimes is like these lower rate movies. Not this one. When I was watching VHS, actually, I would have subtitles over subtitles. They'd be like speaking foreign language, and then what the guy was saying was underneath it. And I was like, I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah, so that's a problem. That's a
that was
problem.
annoying.
Yeah. Oh, I have to say,
Awesome
since you just you're excited about this movie, and I know you're pumped up. Somebody gave us a 3-star review in the last months.
I'll take it.
Last month or so, excuse me.
What was their reason? They hate me.
And they said, I really wanted to like this one, but there's a lot of screaming into the microphone. It hurts my ears, I believe or some version of that. So they're not wrong, but you could just give us a 5-star review and still write the comments, and we'd still listen.
Do you know which episode it was?
I don't know.
For the record,
I don't know.
never have I screamed in anybody's ears. I've screamed into a microphone.
Right, but
I
you have to
haven't
think about
screamed
what it
it.
sounds
I was
like.
also
I
just
would
thinking,
also like to say
when
that-
Craig did that noise.
That was probably the
could've
worst
been
offense.
it.
Yeah.
Because that was like when I scream, I barely am audible half the time.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
it's
But
hard
you
to hear
go
it.
from 0 to 100 in about a half second.
So are you trying to say
all
something?
right. So
Mike?
no, I'm just trying to say that to that
Don't yell
person.
into the microphone. So sorry.
No, all of us need to do a
Andrew,
better job of it.
speak-
So
speak
to that
quietly.
person, I hope you give us another chance. If you see this, if you hear this, excuse me, don't take it as a criticism. I'm just trying to, be better. I'm sorry for all the subtitles on No One Gets Out Alive.
No,
What
no,
do you
no,
think about the movie?
I'm fine with subtitles, but when I asked you, is that the movie with a bunch of subtitles, or in like a different
I
language? You
didn't
said-
think it
you
was.
said no.
I mean, I guess I just wasn't paying attention.
so you
So,
lied to me.
well, I paid attention to the movie, but
Wish
I
you
didn't.
weren't a
know.
liar, Andrew.
Other than that,
Yeah,
though,
okay,
Wish you weren't a
sorry.
liar.
Yeah,
Let's
sorry. Sorry that I made you watch a good movie.
Was Red and Beckett played by the same person?
No, the two brothers.
Yeah. Did they
No.
like me? Okay.
No,
I thought
two
that was
different
possible
actors.
for a bit. Red. What is he? What have I seen him in before?
Ozark.
Ozark.
And he's been in a bunch of stuff
he's
where he
very
plays like a
familiar.
redneck.
Looking. Yeah. He was awesome.
The guy that played the intimidating older brother with the beard that was
Beckett
bald.
or Becker?
Do you know this is going to be a really big deep cut? The Geico commercial that they do for Halloween.
The caveman? Oh no.
The one where it shows all the teenagers and they're willingly like running from horror situation to horror.
Let's
and it
go
shows,
hide in the woods.
Yep, and it
or,
shows
like,
the guy with the chainsaw.
yeah,
He just
that's
like
him?
he pulls his mask up and he's just like
That's
he
the
shakes his
guy?
head. That is the guy that plays the brother.
Well, he's moving
How
up in
about
the
that
world.
randomly, huh?
He's been in a Geico commercial and
Yep.
a movie.
I'm sure he's been in a bunch of other stuff, but like with my crazy mind.
So we can't
that's what I
spoil
wrote.
this because
yeah.
you haven't seen it.
No,
Yeah,
no,
but
don't.
so
But that monster at the end.
well, you just spoiled it. So
No,
Mike,
because there's monsters.
there's
monsters,
ghosts.
no,
I feel
monsters.
like the marketing for this movie, you'd think it was.
I mean, for
it
you to
was a
say monster at
ghost
the end, I don't feel
movie.
like necessarily spoils it because I don't know what the hell you're talking about and I haven't seen it.
All right,
so.
then-
You're not even listening.
Maybe not.
anyway.
No, I'm listening. I'm contributing.
Awesome movie.
Yeah, it was good. It was very good.
Very. I could, like I said, I could see why it was a Michael movie at the end.
Yeah.
During it, though, it didn't feel like a Michael movie. So I'm surprised that you.
Well, I had seen high recommendations for it, and I saw it was from the same people as I mentioned to you, like outside the podcast, the people that did The Ritual on
Yeah.
Netflix, which I fucking love that movie.
The movie's awesome.
So the story, the book that this was based on was written by the same guy that wrote the book The Ritual, and then David Bruckner, who directed The Ritual, was
those
the
are
producer. Oh, yeah, these are both books.
Have you read them?
I have not, actually. This is the first time I've
Kat,
ever
have
found
you
out
read
about
these?
this.
no.
Yeah, Kat has
Have
definitely
you
not.
read these,
Definitely not.
Andrew?
Negative. I didn't even know they were.
But safe
if
to
you
say,
did, they
and
wouldn't read 'em anyway.
if you've somehow still listening through this, if you haven't fast forwarded, Andrew and I both recommend No One Gets Out Alive very highly. Check that movie out if it's somehow passed you by at this point. And sorry for doing kind of spoilers. But anyway,
that's not a spoiler.
Other than that, guys, as of this recording, Halloween Kills is out now, and we'll be posting a review of that movie next week. Another 2021 movie. This is what I said to you guys earlier. Like, so far this year has not been great for horror movies, but like we're coming into like the heavy hitting season. I mean, with this movie tonight, Halloween Kills,
Candyman.
Last Night in Soho. Yeah, Candyman came out.
Oh,
it's okay. I know you loved it. I was. But yeah, so we're getting into the big time season. All right, we ready for VHS 94?
Yes.
All right, so I have to ask you both because again, this was a Mike recommendation.
Was.
I want to know both of your familiarity with the VHS franchise as a whole. Have you seen the other movies? Did you like the other movies? Did you have favorite segments from other movies? Andrew, I will give it to you because I know you probably were a fan of some of these movies.
I've seen parts of, like, I can only remember like a couple segments. One was the one with like there's like three dudes and this weird girl.
Yeah, that's
like
in the first one. So
and
that's I feel like, not to cut you off, but like that's a good part about these movies. They're anthologies, so you might not necessarily remember the movie, but you remember the segments, right? Like you always forget that the raft is actually in Creepshow 2, despite the fact that it's one of the best Creepshow segments.
Yeah, exactly. Segments. That's why I love anthologies.
Agreed, because
awesome.
you know it's like okay, you don't like one story. There's 2 or 3 more in this movie.
I feel like I
Absolutely.
need to, upon watching this movie, because like, you know, as you grow older, you change. So your likes, your dislikes all change. And I, for some reason, didn't want to watch the VHSs when I was younger, and now I feel like, why? Like I should be watching these because I need to go back and rewatch all the other ones that I haven't seen. Because I'm sure
totally
they're awesome. Because I love anthologies. So why I didn't watch these before is beyond me. But the few segments that I've have seen, Mike showed me another segment. I forget what it was.
It's called Safe Haven. It's from VHS 2, and that is, I still think, the best segment of the entire series. But it's funny because you love Southbound,
Yes.
which is a great anthology, and one of the directors of Southbound, like the directors, like there were multiple directors of Southbound. They were all involved in this series.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. So it's the same type of people doing these movies as they were doing like Southbound.
I don't understand why I wouldn't want to watch that.
Yeah, you totally should. What about you?
I was going to say, so it's kind of funny that you say that because I remember the last time we watched a VHS movie, we were in Quincy. When you lived in Quincy, and I remember hating it. Like, I didn't like it at all. I was just like, this is a knockoff to, like, it's not an actual, like, I don't know. I mean, it seemed so fake to me that I hated the VHS movies when we first watched them.
Okay.
And I think even you watched I don't even know if I watched, maybe I did, but, like, I didn't remember it. It wasn't memorable, I'll say. But it's funny that Andrew says that because I feel like this one I looked at a little bit differently than I feel like what I remember from when I watched the first VHS when we were watching it in Quincy at one point.
Sure.
And I just remember hating it. But this I don't hate.
And I feel like it's extremely similar to the other ones, and I feel like for
is.
some reason I don't know why
you know exactly what you're getting with these movies.
So it's funny that you say that because I kind of feel the same way in that sense.
I saw the first one in theaters, and it was fucking awesome. It was
Why am
great.
I not surprised by that?
Yeah, because I'm a fucking lunatic. But yeah, I went with my buddy Sean. We saw it in theaters. It was great, and I'm just such a huge fan of this franchise. I know Again, this is a Mike episode. This is a Mike movie. I've been very excited for this movie since it was announced because I feel like the original 3, as they kept coming out, they were decreasing in quality overall from one to the next. Now, with that being said, the first one is fantastic. The second one is good and has the overall still the best segment in all of the VHS franchise. And the third one is okay. There's some winners, there's some losers. And I feel like this one is right up there with the first one as probably the best. I would put this one right neck and neck with the first one overall.
See, I have literally I'm not allowed to have an opinion on this because I have not seen enough of them. And I can only think that my only reason for not wanting to watch these is because at this point in time, because these are like what the earliest one was 12 years ago, 10 years ago.
I think so. Yeah, I think it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I probably was just like
ago.
I was probably like meh, stupid. But then in reality, I look back and I go, I love grainy horror. I love cheesy, fucking physical.
Practical effects.
Practical. I can never get it right.
I know, you never remember that. Yeah.
Oh, it drives me insane. People must listen to me like, is that guy an idiot?
Well, one thing that I'll say too, like I don't like if you don't like the found footage genre of film, or more specifically the found footage genre of horror films.
You're saying genre.
Genre. I can understand why you might not like these movies because they're all shot in a very shaky cam kind of style, but for me, I love those movies. Found footage horror has always been one of my favorite subgenres of horror.
When done right.
When done correctly. Absolutely. And, I mean, Jesus Christ, I think one of the first R-rated movies I saw in theaters, Andrew, was the Blair Witch Project, and holy shit, that movie fucked me up.
That was one of my notes about, like, if you were going to do overall thoughts on this movie, was, like, I enjoyed that it was being shot like the Blair Witch Project. But it's so funny because I feel like I contradict my own thoughts because, like when I first watched the first VHS movie, like, what I was just talking about, like, I hated that it was shot like that because it looked more fake than the Blair Witch Project. But I enjoyed watching this and being like, oh, it was shot like the Blair Witch Project. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I think that now versus when I thought that I didn't like that then.
See, I've just always been a fan of found footage. I mean, I love the Blair Witch movies. I love the Paranormal Activity movies, especially the first one. I mean, the sequels I don't give a shit about. But, like, those are prime examples of found footage being terrifying. Blair Witch Project is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, and I think the original Paranormal Activity is a really scary movie too.
Yeah,
holds up very, very well. Have you seen the one
about the Jersey Devil?
No,
I have not. It predates Blair Witch. I think it came out in '97.
I think you've told me about this before. This.
I can't remember the name of it. Very fucking weird.
Okay,
but like you have to remember too, it comes out 2 years before Blair Witch, so it's not the quality is very subpar. Very interesting story, though. Great, scary.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I don't know what it's called
for sure. Can I?
Last.
Go ahead.
The last broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's called.
The last broadcast. Okay, I will definitely check that out.
Okay, can you what?
Can I lay a couple of names on you guys in some of the movies?
To lay those names all over my face.
But I don't know if I'm gonna know them.
So basically, the VHS franchise, since its beginning, has been a launching pad for up-and-coming directors that want to do horror. Can I give you some of the names of some of these directors?
Is it James
in
Wan?
Some of the movies? Yeah, it's James Bond. Yeah.
James Wan.
So Adam.
Not James Bond.
James Wan's been around well before that.
Saying, maybe I'm just. Okay.
Did you really just call James Wan James Bond?
No, you did.
She said James Wan, and you said, yeah, James Bond.
I thought she said James Wan.
No.
No, that's my mistake. So Adam Wingard, who directed one of the segments in the first movie, he went on to direct You're Next, The Guest, the Blair Witch reboot, which was awesome, Death Note, and Godzilla vs. Kong, which we talked about on this show.
I don't like any of those movies.
I love Your Next, and The Guest is awesome,
I like
too.
Your Next,
and
actually.
so's the Blair Witch sequel. Are you kidding me? He's awesome.
That or the Blair Witch sequel.
The
one that
Shadows?
No, not that one. The one that we saw in theaters. This is just called Blair Witch.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's great.
It was
good.
my
God, it's so good.
No, I was like, did they do the second one, Book of Shadows, the Curse of Evers or whatever?
Not that one. In addition to that, David Bruckner, who directed a segment of Southbound, he directed a movie called The Ritual, which we already talked about. He also directed No One Gets Out Alive, which I feel like we just talked about. And he's also directing the upcoming reboot of a movie called Hellraiser.
They're doing a reboot of Hellraiser?
Yep.
Is it called Hellraiser?
I don't.
It's called Hellraiser.
Wow. Why is everyone doing that?
Okay, so if you're going to do Hellraiser, my first choice for the Hellraiser is...
Pinhead?
Nope. Howie Mandel.
No.
Wow. Wow.
Could you imagine a Hellraiser with Howie Mandel as
Just
the
a
main...
germaphobe head?
I will Photoshop that for you,
Yeah.
and we will.
I would like a T-shirt of that.
Also, in these series of movies was a guy named Ty West who directed The Sacrament, which we watched.
Oh yeah, I was like,
a criminally underrated horror movie. It's almost kind of like
that's really good, actually.
like the Jonestown Massacre type thing.
Oh, I've seen that with
That's
that
very,
fucking
very
weird
good.
looking dude.
Yeah,
that's
the guy
like-
from No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, which is so... Yeah, that's who it is.
That's the one. He directed
That guy, everything is online.
And
Well, I have
also,
to win.
probably the most famous is a director group called Radio Silence. This is three guys, and they directed a segment of Southbound. They directed Ready or Not, which is a fantastic fucking movie that came out
that's
a
a
couple
great
years ago.
movie.
Kind of launched the career of what's her name? The guy from The Matrix.
What's her name?
Samara.
The guy from The
Samara
Matrix?
Weaving. She's Hugo Weaving from The Matrix. His daughter.
Okay, but who is that in the Matrix?
Is that Mr.
He's like the Mr. Andrews.
He or she? Because that you keep saying
He.
Like, I'm very
Are you picking up
confused.
what I'm putting down? Good God.
I finally figured it out.
Southbound, Ready or Not, and also
He's
Radio
the agent?
Silence.
Wait, he's the agent?
Yes,
The
yes,
main agent.
yes.
Okay, that's all you had to say. You didn't
So,
have to say he,
he's
she,
not
so
her.
the
that,
agent,
that
he's the
group,
agent.
Radio
Agents,
Silence,
that's what I said.
that group, Radio Silence, directed a segment of Southbound, directed Ready or Not, and they are also directing the Scream sequel that we just watched the trailer for.
Wonderful.
Those guys. Yeah. All right, so we've seen a good amount of horror movies this year, I would say. I know Andrew and I reviewed the most recent 2021 horror movie that we talked about on this podcast. And that movie, Malignant, was, I think, both of our favorite movie of the year so far.
Tough to...
I don't have this ranked too far behind it, I will say. I'll give you some other movies that came out this year that we have
I was going to
talked
say,
about.
don't even ask me because I feel like there's
No,
like
no.
10 movies now that we've already
There's
talked about.
there's
this
a lot.
year.
I just want to give you guys a reminder, and then tell me what movies you liked better than
top
this.
three.
Okay, top three of the year so far.
Better
after this movie.
than VHS.
No, just your top three.
So
You just said
we
better.
have, as you know, as I just mentioned, Malignant, which we just talked about. Spiral from the Book of Saw, Fear Street 1666, Fear Street 78. No One Gets Out Alive, Wrong Turn, Fear Street 1994, Candyman, A Quiet Place Part 2, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, Godzilla vs. Kong, and Willy's Wonderland, which, again, only I have seen that, and that movie sucked. So, I would have to say, where does this rank for you? What are your favorite ones of the year so far? Catherine, go right ahead.
Above this, I say, first off, why doesn't Fear Street be its own thing? Why do you have to separate them into separate?
Because I feel like
there's
the
three
three
different
movies
movies.
are like in varying quality. I'm sorry to say.
Okay, well, that kind of changes things. So I'm going to say
What did you like better than this? Tell me that.
Spiral. I liked Spiral better.
Okay.
And I liked Fear Street as a whole better.
Okay.
That's fine. You can say
That's
that.
fine. That's
I
totally
liked
fine.
I liked watching all three of them
Okay.
better
Yep,
than
we
this.
know that. We got that.
And I liked Quiet Place too.
Better than this.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew, what about
I
you?
mean, but that's just, I'm biased. I kind of stick to my guns, so.
I guess. It's a terrible list. Malignant.
You forgot Mortal Kombat.
Malignant 1.
Mortal Kombat 2. Yeah.
Malignant 1. VHS 94 2.
Mm-hmm.
Candyman 3.
Yeah. I have Malignant 1, this 2, and Spiral from the Book of Saw number 3, personally. I also am a big fan of the Fear Street movies, but I think that probably Malignant, this movie, and Spiral from the Book of Saw, alongside Midnight Mass, that Netflix series, are probably the best horror things this year by far. I think everything else is kind of like...
What about, actually, I'd say, what about the new season of What We Do in the Shadows? Because that's
Great.
bomb.
Oh, that's great.
I was
It's
gonna
so
say.
good this year. It's so good. So
I was like,
that's
that was one of the things we have been watching.
That's actually a
is-
great call.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel
That's
like we
been
keep
phenomenal.
forgetting to mention that.
This season
Andrew,
is
it's
awesome.
an absolute crime that you don't watch that show. But I digress. So some quick facts about VHS 94. This is the fourth movie in the VHS franchise. First one was called VHS. Second one was called, big
VHS
surprise,
2?
VHS 2.
Wow.
Third one was called VHS Viral, and now we have VHS 94. There are several directors and several producers for this movie. Okay, so the directors, Jennifer Reeder, who directed the wraparound segment called Holy Hell, that's the title. Chloe Okuno directed Storm Drain, the Raatma segment. And then Simon Barrett directed The Empty Wake, which that title is probably self-explanatory for the plot of the whole thing. Timo Tajanjanto, I apologize if I mispronounced that, directed The Subject, and he also directed, Andrew, for the record, Safe Haven from VHS 2, which I still think is the best segment from any of the VHS movies. Great segment. Yeah. And then Ryan Prowse, who I've never heard of. Good for him. He directed the last segment called Terror, which was the one with the militia. The one with the militia group.
Because the third one, the one that you said,
they're very similar. Safe Haven and The Subject, very similar.
So it's almost like, do you get credit for that, or are you just riding on the coattails of something else you've done? Because be a little imaginative with it. That's all I'm saying. You can.
I thought this was a very different idea from what he had in the first one. So yeah,
I thought that was the weakest segment.
Really?
It was too clear.
Wow.
And it was too fucking. It was a little too corny. It was too. There was something about it that was just so fake that's just because as soon as someone came on, I almost wanted to fall asleep.
Wow. I am so surprised to hear you say that because I thought that was probably the strongest segment of the entire movie.
I thought the Raatma one was the best.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we can get into our favorites and our non-favorites. So we listed all the directors just a second ago, but there were also a lot of producers for this movie. Individually, people on set. Josh Goldblum, Brad Mischka, who is the one of the founders of Bloody Disgusting.
Wait, John Goldblum?
No. John Goldblum. Josh Goldblum. Brad Mischka and Curtis David Harder were the three producers who were on set every day.
Not the guy from Jurassic
Park. But the not Jeff Goldblum. Nope. And then in addition to that, the production companies that backed this movie, first one, our friends at Bloody Disgusting. They produce movies from time to time, and they back all of these VHS movies, which is another reason that I love them. In addition to that, Radio Silence Productions. Those are the guys that are doing the new Screams reboot. And then also Shudder original films. So, came out on Shudder, produced by Bloody Disgusting and Radio Silence. I think that's a recipe for success, I'd say. Principal photography for this movie was completed during the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, which I feel like is especially impressive because you have to kind of get creative. And I feel like they did with a lot of the shots in this movie, right? According to producer Josh Goldblum, again, not Jeff Goldblum, Josh Goldblum, the production teams built sets in hotels and conference rooms and, quote, in the spirit of the series' punk rock roots, they even ventured underground into a sewer, which is going to come up in another segment that we're going to talk about. During Comic-Con at Home in 2020, the discussion panel on the film, Goldblum added that the filmmakers had gone, quote, very era-authentic with this iteration of VHS, utilizing older video equipment, physical tape transfers, and digital effects to make each segment look like amateur video from the 1990s. I feel like that makes sense, and that kind of bleeds through into all of these. You mentioned that the Doctor one, it's called The Subject. That one is in HD. That feels like the most high-tech of all of them.
That's probably why I didn't like it as much.
But the rest of them, I feel like they're grainy, gritty. It
feels
like they were recorded in the 90s.
That was my own... That's why I didn't like that one as much, because it didn't fit.
It's supposed to be a found footage, and it doesn't feel like a found footage movie.
Yeah, that was a good segment, but I don't know if it fit as much within the VHS universe,
no, because
even though it might have been my favorite.
Everything else was
kind
of so.
You know?
Here's my it grinds my
gears.
Is that everything was moving in unison, like the whole lead-in, the first segment, the second segment, and then that segment shows up and it throws off the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally was completely out of place and didn't belong in there. It was almost like this. So here's my. my thought.
I think it's so interesting because the absolute opposite opinion of what I have. I love to hear
this guy had the Safe Haven episode that he directed, right? And that's like what you said was like the best one.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Almost like that he knew he was directing this one and he got a big head and he overshadowed what was trying to be done with this movie and kind of fucked it up. Because it doesn't fit at all. It doesn't belong there, and it shouldn't be in there. Segment 1, 2, and 4 all seem to meld together, and then you have this one that's like, it's like someone having a heart attack. Like, it's like a pulse. Like, it's out of control. Doesn't belong there. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't fit the story. Doesn't follow the storyline. And almost, this is when I almost fell asleep, was when this segment came on. Like, I was kind of disappointed. It kind of threw me off because it didn't fit anything. It didn't belong there.
See, I am legit shocked to hear you say that because I knew that you and I both liked this movie when we talked earlier. I thought for sure we were going to agree that we thought this was the best segment of the entire thing.
No, Raatma is my favorite segment. I thought that was
all
awesome.
right.
Like this, it was, like the
understand.
Movie, it doesn't fit.
I will grant you that it definitely does break the mold of like the grainy 90s footage, which is a little jarring, but I feel like they kind of like, okay, as filmmakers, I say to you, like, okay, just take this with a grain of salt. It's another story. That's awesome. It was a good story, but it definitely doesn't fit within like the visual structure.
It doesn't fit with the general story.
Right.
It doesn't belong there.
But
everything
they're all different stories, though. I don't know if that matters.
No, there was...
It's the way they're shot.
I don't know how to... No, it's not even the way they're shot. I don't know how to verbalize this, but it didn't fit in the general story. It was completely out of place, and I just know this just based off the fact that it gave me a different vibe when I was watching it. Whether that has to do with the HD effects or not, it didn't fit in the general story. Like the first, it kind of felt forced. It didn't feel like it belonged.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's all I'm saying.
I love it because it's a different opinion than mine. I thought that was the coolest segment of the whole thing. I thought
it was a great segment,
awesome.
But it had no business in that story.
Okay, fair enough. Can I give you some of the influences the directors of this movie actually said they had in terms of past horror movies?
Oh, yeah.
Video footage of the Waco, Texas siege.
Interesting.
That makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson's Bronco chase.
Huh.
The Nancy Kerrigan, Tonya Harding assault.
What?
And the Heaven's Gate religious cult.
Oh, that's...
Which most of that stuff is found footage.
Like the last
90s VHS.
one, I immediately thought Ruby Ridge, Waco.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it felt like.
Yep.
That's why it belonged. That's why
the
third segment didn't fit. Because all the other ones were like, maybe because didn't take place.
It was too...
So I was thinking like America 94.
Before you comment further, so two of the directors, Jennifer Reeder and Timo Tajanto, I apologize if I mispronounced that, mentioned David Cronenberg's Videodrome and the infamous Mondo shockumentary Faces of Death as inspirations, respectively. So, I feel like I can see it with Videodrome.
It was too futuristic.
Okay, that's fine.
It was too much for what the other ones were. The other ones were like in present day. This was like somewhere.
Yeah, it should have been more like you're not making like a robotic human with you're making the fly or something just like basic. Like you're not.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay,
that's the only problem I have. It didn't fit it was a great story in itself, but it just didn't belong.
Yeah,
one of these things aren't like the other.
One of those things are not.
And it was the one that wasn't like the other.
It was
forced. It felt forced.
I agree with Andrew.
You know what? Now that you've mentioned that, I understand where you're coming from, and I actually, it doesn't feel like it took place in '94.
Awesome segment.
Great segment.
Just didn't belong.
That wouldn't take place in '94. Absolutely not. No.
I mean, it very well could be, but the video evidence did not look like it took place in '94.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, before we move on to our next thing, guys, just a reminder that tonight's episode is brought to you by DB Journey. Hey, so DB Journey is a Scandinavian brand that makes backpacks and bags to help people on the move stay ready for anything. From the streets to the peaks, DB Journey's gear is travel tested by some of the world's best athletes, adventurers, and creators. Over the past decade, DB Journey has designed and developed, released, and refined the best bags in the market. With DB Journey's patented hookup system, you're able to attach your smaller products to your backpack, roller, or tote bag. Tote bag. Bad. Jesus
Tote
Christ.
baby.
All I can speak. We are teaming up here at America's Hometown Horror with DB Journey to exclusively offer our listeners 10% off your next purchase by using the code POD10, that's POD10, or going to the link in our show notes, DB Journey. It's time to move on, and it's time to get going. All right, guys, so again, we're talking about VHS 94. We're moving into our categories now. So we talked a little bit about this already, just we don't have to go into super detail. Instead of favorite scene, I'm going with favorite segment of the 4 or 5. So anyone want to start?
I liked the last scene with the girls who bashed the guy's head in with the camera, because I think it was just pure raw, like, violence. I mean, it was just, but it was also, like, girl power. It was like, you know what? We're here to be your, like, you know, they say a bunch of, like, the snuff film, whatever, and, like, they say all this stuff, and, like, we're the ones behind the scene. That's what they say in the, and they're like,
Yeah, no, we know.
then they're like, we're the girls who, like, dress up in, like, these things, and then all of a sudden you see this girl, and you see her face, and you see a camera lens, like, cracking, but you don't necessarily know what's going on, but you kind of do. And then
that's why they're doing the drug bust
Right.
from the beginning, is because of those
Right.
girls, which is actually them,
Yes.
who are part of the raid team. Yes. you
and
know
then
that.
they flash to the guy's head just bashed in, and you're like, whoa, wow. Like,
A little
okay.
aggressive. Bit
Yes.
aggressive.
That was pretty aggressive. But I think that was, at the same time, I'm like, that was kind
really?
of memorable for me.
I guess.
Sweet.
It was pretty good.
Girl power.
Girl power.
Andrew, what's your favorite segment?
Raatman.
I had a
Love
feeling.
the Raatman scene.
Which is actually called, it's actually not called
Holy
hell,
Raatma. It's called, what is it called? The Storm Drain or something
Storm
like that?
Drain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so good. It's like
Storm
a news
Drain,
crew trying to find the Rat Man
Yeah.
that lives under the sewage, and they find these weird people, these like weird mongoloid humans, and the guy's like throwing up blood, like it's like gross. And then you finally get to see the Rat Man.
That didn't
Awesome.
disappoint, by the way. That was cool.
did
No,
not-
yeah.
That was an awesome creature.
Yeah. Yeah. it was
The
cool.
Rat Man was awesome, and I love the fact that they played off of the fact that, like, if someone spit up their gross venom on you and you didn't burn alive,
Right.
then you were perhaps chosen by the Rat Man and part of a higher
Yeah.
thing. Because then you get to the so Holly, who was involved in that whole Rat Man scene, now is a co-anchor on the news, and then she has a case of the hiccups or the throw-ups or whatever it is, and she just spews venom on her co-anchor's face, and he starts burning alive, and she just acts like nothing happened. It was so fucking...
Yeah.
It was just so weird. I loved that whole segment. It was awesome.
She just substitutes Raatma in for certain words, and she's just like, Hail Raatma. And then it
Yeah.
ends. Yeah.
So weird.
That's the best quote from the movie, I feel like, is Hail Raatma. So,
I actually liked. Can I just interject here?
okay, go ahead.
Always.
I wrote this down because I thought it was kind of funny. He was in the sewers, and then he looked at me. You know, like that fucking clown. Like it's
Yeah,
like a
like
reference to it.
Pennywise.
Yeah.
I
I
picked
was
that one
like-
too. Yeah, good call.
That's like, that was pretty cool.
Very good call.
I like it. I like
So I'd say normally, the more and more Andrew talked about it, I kind of agree with him. I would normally say my favorite segment was The Subject, which was the one that was shot in HD with the robot humanoids, blah blah, all that shit. But I feel like I have to roll with Terror, the last segment. It does, as Andrew mentioned, fit better within the theme of this movie. It's shot like the rest of the stories in this movie, and it's also got a really cool story that ends with a really cool monster
Yeah.
and some of the best kills in the entire movie, in my opinion. So I think that segment probably takes the cake for me. I can see why they maybe left it for the end. I think probably... I mean, I like them all, but I think that one takes the cake for me, followed by, what's it called? The Subject, and then the Storm Drain one, which is the Raatma one. They were all... those three were the best for me, and they were all great.
The Lovecraftian effect on monsters now is, like, very evident.
Absolutely.
Because, like, the vampire in that last one seemed like a very Lovecraftian one. The movie we watched, No One Gets Out Alive, that monster was very Lovecraftian, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only reason I say that was more
right there.
94 was because that felt like a Waco, Ruby Ridge story.
It definitely
like,
did, yeah.
Patriotic, right-wing lunatics. They're going to defuse. They're going to set off a bomb. Instead, the bomb's a vampire that they let out. Like, it's an awesome...
It was like a Venus...
What a unique... I have not seen a more unique vampire story than that, to be honest.
It was cool. It was very cool.
They were designed like a Venus flytrap almost.
It was the Predator. It was
cool,
fucking awesome.
So I know we all just picked our favorite segments. Does anybody think another one, aside from their favorite, was scarier than the one you picked?
Scarier?
Scarier?
What was the scariest? What was the scariest
So
segment?
the one I liked the least was probably the scariest. That was the Wake one.
Yeah, see, I didn't like that one.
That would have been terrifying.
That was the one I
that's
liked
terrifying.
the least.
Like if you're in a funeral home by yourself with a corpse in a thing, and it comes out and his body's melting and it can only hear you. Or,
he has half a head.
Yeah,
like,
that was fucking
call.
weird.
Yeah,
and then the tornado rips through and then she gets out.
Yeah,
I didn't really like the ending. Like that whole thing seemed like it wasn't really.
It was kind of a weak segment.
It was kind of just like
that
one didn't fit anything either.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That one didn't make any sense.
I think I agree with you on that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, my favorite quote from the movie that's not a lot to quote is "Hail Raatma."
I like the quote where the same. So the two girls say the same three things, like salvation is, or what is it? Like it's like their mantra.
Yeah. Something is forever.
Salvation is forever.
Salvation is forever, or something like that. Yeah.
Sacrifice is something like, and then one of them says it at like towards the end, and you're like, oh,
definitely.
You pick up on it.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
I would say in terms of favorite character and least favorite character, what I had down was I was a big fan of the mad scientist from the Subject, Dr. Suhendra, and then the least favorite character I had was the crazy religious person that was, the puppet behind Raatma, because he was a douche. So.
Yeah, that was an interesting segment though, where they did like the lead-in, where he was like talking about it. Like on the news.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good tease. But like, I didn't really understand like why he was down in the sewers defending homeless people. I didn't really get that.
He was all about the rising of the Raatma.
Okay.
He was like the Hell's Gate, like kind of lunatic guy.
We're gonna leave cast replacements alone because these are all amateur
actors. You didn't even ask
actors.
me anything. Like,
did you have a favorite?
Am I out of all of this?
Did you have a
like,
favorite?
I was like, I didn't even talk
you're
in like
not.
15 minutes.
We brought it up randomly, like it wasn't a point of contention.
I thought this was categories.
I was skipping past
around.
parts that I didn't think there would be much to talk about. But if you have a favorite character and a least favorite character, then go ahead.
You didn't say the reporter from that, right?
I did not.
She sucked.
She did suck.
Holly was awesome.
She
when
sucked.
She threw up on that guy's face. Awesome.
Keep going.
No, she sucked because she was just like, "Oh, let's go deeper into this cave." And
she was trying to get a good news story.
Yeah, but I mean, in the same sense, like, okay,
you wouldn't do the same thing.
No, and like a horror movie, rule number one, it's like don't go into dark caves.
First off,
and
they're not. They don't know that they're in a horror movie. They think they're just in a regular life situation.
No, that lady knew exactly what she was getting into, and she was totally like, let's just go further down the rabbit hole because I want to find some sort of story to report on. And then she's like, "Hey, mister, let's talk to you." And the guy's like, "Yeah, no, like." But I mean, who in their right mind would be like, "Hey, let's just like wander down this rabbit hole of craziness and mystery."
If your boss tells you, you
and,
probably should do it.
But her boss didn't tell her. She just wanted to get more famous. She wanted to get a story so that she can further her career.
So what's wrong with that?
It's
called
if
ambition.
You're gonna die.
She doesn't know she's gonna die, and she didn't die.
No, she didn't die.
She actually lived. She killed a couple people along the way
Well,
by accident. I don't think she meant to.
But
no, she didn't do anything wrong. She did everything right, actually, in that situation. She hail Raatma.
Right.
All right, guys. So, yeah, cast replacements, nitpicks. I feel like there's amateur actors, and it's like short stories. So I feel like it would be fickle to talk about those things.
Fickle, like
That's correct.
Einhorn?
Mm-hmm. Finkel and
Yeah.
Slater, he could be gone.
What was your favorite kill in the entire movie? And I have one. Andrew, you can go ahead if you want first. Or I can go.
Oh, favorite kill was in the newsroom when she
Yeah,
throws up the venom
that was a
on
good
the
one.
co-anchor
That
and
was
burns his
absolutely
face.
Yeah.
And then just goes back to talking about the news like it didn't happen.
Yeah, I think you win with that one. That was.
Well, I
that
don't
was the
think
best.
I won. I just think that is the best.
I don't mean you win, but
I always win.
I'm saying I agree with you on that one.
You know what one I really loved was the vampire kill with the in the last segment with the guy going up the attic stairs, and you first see the vampire opening his face like a Venus flytrap, and he rips that guy's face off. That was fucking so
pretty
awesome.
actually.
Yeah, that's
Great
really
kill. Great kill. Great practical effects. Great vampire effects, which I feel like we talked about this, Andrew. It's very tough to make vampires scary, I feel like.
That's one of the best depictions of vampires I think I've ever seen.
Since like 30 Days a Night, something like that.
Yeah, it's very unique. It's extremely unique, and it should be talked about more, and maybe it will be. But yeah, 30
This
Days a
movie's
Night,
only a couple weeks old, so maybe.
Yeah, because
you know.
they did a phenomenal job with that. That whole storyline was amazing.
Catherine, what about you? What was your favorite death?
I was going to say, I enjoyed both of your deaths that you just talked about. I don't really know besides the one that I've already mentioned with the girl that bashed the guy's head in with the camera. But
Yeah, that was good too. Especially like when she's doing it, like she's meant to be doing it with the camera lens of the camera, like bashing his face, and the camera's just getting bloodier and bloodier. Yeah.
She's in the lens.
Yeah.
And he's getting the back end of the camera because you don't see him until she turns the camera around. So.
Okay. So, good choices by all, I'll say. I already know the answers to this question, but I guess to what degree would this franchise, the VHS franchise, make a good haunted house? I feel like it's
I feel like all of it.
perfectly adapted for a haunted house because you could just do a different story in every room, and it could be the same, like a different thing in every room.
Yeah, I would be down with that.
You could do
Absolutely.
a haunted house for each segment.
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
That's
That's
what you're
100% what I'm saying,
Okay,
yes.
I'm saying you could probably have a whole
Story
haunted, like,
segment. Yeah.
area of VHS haunted house year whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you could do that easily.
Yeah, I think so too.
That'd be really cool.
I think it would be great because there's been a lot of monsters that have come out of this franchise that are pretty cool looking. So I think it would be great.
Oh, yeah.
So, with that being said, I would ask you guys, and I do have some information on this, do you think you are ready for a sequel to this movie?
I think there's going to be whether we want one or not.
Yeah, you're
because
probably
there's
right.
already been several
VHS
sequels.
5.0.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd say give me all the sequels, baby. Give me
It'll
all
be
the sequels.
VHS
because you know what?
Aliens.
Hey,
like,
you know what? If an anthology movie does not do well, all you have to realize is that if there's a story or two that are good,
That's all that
you
matters.
can basically just do a new movie with different stories by different directors, and they could be good. An anthology is only as good as the new story that it's telling. That's pretty much
But the
it.
best anthologies are the ones that are cohesive and finish through to the
Agreed.
end, which is
Agreed.
why this one does not finish as a great anthology.
Here's what I'll leave you with. During a roundtable interview with Dan Tabor of Synapse News, producer Josh Goldblum revealed that the production team, quote, already got ideas for the next VHS and that a potential sequel ultimately depends on the reception of VHS 94. And as I already mentioned, it has been the most successful premiere of a Shudder exclusive movie since Shudder's launch. So I think it's safe to say that we're probably going to get a sequel to this movie.
We should.
I'm psyched for it.
I thought it was
so.
awesome.
Give me a VHS 95, 96, 97, 98, whatever year you want. I'm down for it. I love
Give
nostalgia.
me a VHS
Oh, yeah.
1945.
All right. Any final thoughts on the VHS franchise or VHS 94, you guys?
I think they should do one that involves the moon landing, the Kennedy assassination,
cool. Yeah.
and
VHS 65.
That'd be interesting.
And,
Very interesting.
VHS 79. I'd watch all those.
the
I'd
Kennedy
watch any year.
assassination, the moon landing, and let's get
The Day the Music
died. American Pie.
VHS Buddy
That'd
Holly.
be kind of interesting. To be well, actually, when you kind of mention it, it'd
Something
be kind
like
of
that would be
interesting.
kind of cool.
Like a conspiracy theory
Ooh,
things.
Yeah, moon landing,
right?
and then like
Yeah.
VHS conspiracy
And then
theories.
do like
Ooh,
do
actually,
like,
that's
do like the alien
we just
pyramid,
came up with the
like,
next VHS.
pyramids,
There it
like
is.
the pyramids.
Yeah.
with the aliens.
The
and all that
Sphinx with the
shit.
pyramid.
The Sphincter. No.
Well, definitely check out VHS 94 if you haven't yet. And I'd say before you do that, if you haven't watched the original 3 movies yet, watch those 2. Because, again, all the segments are of varying quality. And they're all pretty good to not that great. So, check it out.
They're all pretty good to not
Ooh,
that
bro.
I mean, hey,
How about
not
are we off
every
air?
segment's going to hit a home run.
Air
so.
right now?
great. No.
No, not quite yet. Before we get off air, here's where you can find us on social media. First and
Yeah, don't.
First,
if you're not gonna
shut
say,
up,
don't
shut
just.
up. First and foremost, on our website at ahhpod.com, apod.com. You can also find us on YouTube and Facebook. Just go on there, search for America's Hometown Horror, and you will find us. You can also tweet at us at Hometown Horror, and you can find us on Instagram at Hometown Horror Pod. And if you feel so inclined to shoot us an email, you can go to hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. And in terms of listening to our show, I mean, hey, wherever you're listening to us right now would be great for us. If you have Apple Podcasts, go on there, rate us, subscribe to us, the whole nine, give us a review. And we're also on Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, blah, 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 blah. My name is Mike. I've been joined by my esteemed co-hosts, Catherine and Andrew. You guys, say goodbye to your listeners.
Adios, muchachos.
See you in hell, motherfuckers.
Good evening. Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and just wanted to say thank you again for listening to another episode of our show, because of course, we would be nothing without you listeners. If you are interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I would highly recommend you check out some shows by our cohorts on the Inebriart Podcast Network. That's right, the Inebriart Podcast Network, folks. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find the Inebriart Podcast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, Retro Redoctopus, and Old Colony Cast. Head on over and give them a listen.